Welcome back to another episode of Through the Wire podcast. This is your start, sit, risk assessment week 9 for wide receivers. I am your host.
We made it to White House.
We made it. I'm your host, Alan AB.
And I'm Ness.
Ness. That's right. You guys are going into week 9, so hopefully you have a chance to make your playoffs at this point. You're still changing your roster if you still care at this point. You know how it goes. After a certain point in the season, people start just giving up on the league. It's tanking, and it's time to start treating it like the Tennessee Titans. Let's get these guys out of here. There's nothing to see.
You got enough for you, sir. I'll accept it. That team's ass. Here, we're trash this year.
Just to let you guys know, we are starting this week assessment after the Thursday night game. So the Jets game that was on with the Texans has already occurred. So if there's any players that you were looking for in that game, we won't, of course, rank them, but we can tell you how that game went before we went into the rankings. So anyone who wasn't around, if you didn't see the Jets game last night, it was a pretty good game. If you were watching the game, then
Second half was good.
Second half was the better half. But anyone who watched the game last night, you know that the player of the game was, without a doubt, Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson went off last night for about 90 receiving yards on 9 receptions and 2 touchdowns. If you had a half PPR league, he gave you about 25 points. Full PPR, of course, a lot more. But right behind him, you also had DEVANTE Adams giving you a respectable 91 yards on 7 receptions and 11 targets and also a touchdown. The Jets were actually looking pretty good last night. Scary.
Won't go anywhere, but it's scary.
It won't. Unfortunately, Houston also they suffered some injuries this week. The loss of a really great wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, he's going to be out for the rest of the season on IR. We also know that Nico Collins is expected to come back in week 10. So basically, it left the helms to Tank Dell, who we just learned this week. Mm-hmm. He ain't named Tank. Mm-hmm. His name's actually Nathaniel. That was a fun fact. I don't know if you knew this. Yeah, his name's not Tank. His name's Nathaniel Dell. But yeah, Tank Dell was the only viable receiver for the Texans, and it showed because this boy had to run for his life for 126 yards on 9 targets yesterday. And no touchdowns, but he still gave you a great game because look at all those catches, right?
Mm-hmm. All those receptions. PPR is amazing.
Yeah.
PPR is amazing.
So, Robert Woods is left to fill in the gap now because there wasn't really much left to throw to. So, Robert Woods coming in, he did a respectable 44 yards, which is very Robin Woods-like.
That's not respectable in fantasy.
In fantasy, we really disrespect these numbers. It's fucked up,
It's great for your parlay if you're trying to get over 40.
No, even in real life, a 40-yard game is nothing to scoff at. You got 40 yards, but in fantasy, it's like 100 or no. Like, it's 100 or bust.
If you got 40, you better have scored a touchdown.
Like,
I don't care.
You only got 1 touchdown? Ew. All right, so that was the feedback from last night. Of course, I don't know what to say, man. If you're a Nico Collins owner, you're just that much stronger at this point when he comes back.
If you're a CJ Stroud owner, you're waiting for Nico to come back.
Imagine that. And if you're a Tank Dell owner, you're just thanking the heavens because, who went from 3 to 1 that quickly? You struck the lotto, my boy.
Yeah, that part.
So that was the recap from Thursday night's game, but we're going to roll into the Week 9 projections. Again, this is for the top 25 wide receivers on the list. And just to give you guys a heads up, we are ranking them on 3 tiers. So we're going to break them up by tier as we rank these players. Basically, the first tier, which is the green tier, are the low-risk receivers, which is why it's green. Basically, these receivers are projected to get at least 15 points and above. The medium tier receivers are the ones that are medium risk. Those are the receivers that are ranked between 10 and 15 point projection. And basically anyone below that 10-point projection is where we get into our red tier. That's the high-risk receivers. We're going to go through the top 25, and we'll basically fill you in as we go through the list, all right? So, Ness, do you want to start us off at number 1 for the list?
CeeDee Lamb is a start regardless. That's all they have.
Nothing else to say here. Mr. Consistency on Dallas. Man, CeeDee Lamb is really all they have. So, I mean, if you got him, start him.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to say here. Another person that's the only other person in our top tier list for this week is Justin Jefferson. Minnesota wide receiver going against Indianapolis Colts. I think, again, this is a no-brainer. These people in the green tier this week are very much sure starts. There's nothing else to say, really, but start them up. You know, the next person. Basically, we're going to go into our yellow tier now. This is our medium tier. The first person on that list.
It's Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Man, if it wasn't for Tua being there, I'd be sitting his ass.
You ain't lying, bro. You are not
He's only
lying.
starting because of Tua. That's the only reason I haven't been to start is because of Tua.
He's only starting because I don't know.
It's sad because he used to not be this type of player.
I mean,
He used to be like an auto start regardless.
he was, but I think just, you know, man, I think the team kind of took a blow with that Tua injury. I think confidence does do a lot with players, and I feel like even though you're right, I really don't want to make excuses for him. He's really a stud player. Like Tyreek Hill is really supposed to be a surefire must start every week, but he also did have a little bit of an injury in the weeks that Tua was out, so I believe that also had a little bit of an issue with his lack of production.
But then also, those backup quarterbacks were ass.
They were trash, so it didn't make anything better.
It was trash.
It didn't make anything better.
It was.
Yeah, so Tua being back is a great formula. Tyreek Hill, it still does. I'll be honest with you, though. Even with Tua back,
You're scared?
I am. You know why?
Raining? It's Buffalo.
It's raining.
It's Buffalo.
Buffalo has had a really fucked up track record with destroying Miami, and then it's in Buffalo on a bad weather day. Tyreek Hill's not really a safe start for me, but it's Tyreek Hill, so you can't sit him. You gotta just try to.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta just
draft capital, baby.
You gotta just, this is your number one draft pick. You gotta roll.
This is your first round pick. Yep.
You gotta roll him out. Roll him out. You're starting him.
JAMAR Chase.
Yeah.
Vegas, another one of those. I'm starting him regardless. Don't care what you say.
Starting him regardless. But I will say this though, I am shocked to see that Las Vegas is ranked so high. It looks like Las Vegas gives up the 8th fewest points to fantasy position, and I'm sorry, Vegas gives up the 8th fewest fantasy points to the wide receiver position. I wasn't aware that they were that stout on defense, but when I'm looking at these last few weeks, going against with Kansas City going against Las Vegas, Xavier Worthy was able to put up about 37 yards. That was the highest yard point. Week 7 with the Los Angeles Rams, the highest receiver got about 57 yards. Pittsburgh Steelers, week 6, I think that was the first week that Russ started.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the highest receiver was George Pickens. George Pickens.
That was
Justin Fields' last game. I'm sorry. George Pickens had 53 yards. Denver, when they went against him in week 5, the highest reception total was 35 yards for 48 yards for LaJordan Humphrey. Buffalo, Amari Cooper, 35 yards. Like this, I can't believe these numbers, honestly. Jerry Jeudy, 72 yards in week 4. The only person that cracked 100 on this team was Deontay Johnson for Baltimore, and that was in week 3.
And that was when he was part of the Carolina Panthers.
That was when he was part of the Yeah, I'm sorry. I correct that. The only person that cracked 100 was Deontay Johnson for the Panthers, and that was in week 3. The closest that we've come to that was Zay Flowers for Baltimore in week 2 with 91 yards, but I didn't know Las Vegas was playing that good of a defense. It does make me look at them a little bit more carefully when it looks at I still think JAMAR Chase is a start. However, I will let you know, manage your expectations this week. He's probably not going to give you a big game. This is probably going to be one of his moderate games if he is in your lineup. You know?
Expect a bunch of receptions, not a bunch of. It's going to be great for PPR.
PPR for sure.
It's going to be great for PPR.
PPR for sure. Not a lot of yards.
Joe Burrow's going to throw the ball.
He's going to throw the ball.
It's gonna,
yeah.
PPR's going to be.
But pay attention to that Las Vegas defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Comes out in touchdowns.
The next player that's on the list is A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown of the Philadelphia I was going to say 76ers. My brain is tired. The Philadelphia Eagles. They're going against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And basically, yeah, A.J. Brown's a must start. I don't really think there's much to say here.
They know what they have in
Jacksonville is like...
They know what they have.
Yeah,
they know they need to use them.
You know what it is. I don't have to say much here. It's Jacksonville. Start them. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Detroit wide receiver, going against the Green Bay Packers on a very weird weather day. What do you think, Ness?
Let's see. I am a little wary because he's one of those. He's a great receiver.
Yeah,
great receiver. Even in a trouncing of the Titans last week, he only had 2 receptions for 7 yards and 1 touchdown. That's the problem. Therein lies our issue. Yeah. They have so many weapons over in Detroit.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot.
And you don't know if he's going to really be able to produce.
I think he's a start this week.
Even though they're facing Detroit, which is another very
Green Bay.
good. I mean, even though they're facing Green Bay, it's another good defense that takes away the number 1 receiver.
Because of the Jordan Love injury.
You're right.
Because of the Jordan Love injury, I'm saying he's a start.
You think they'll break at some point?
I think so. I think that they're going to end up having an upper hand. It's Detroit, by the way. They're still the strongest team in the league, I think, right now. In the NFC, they're one of the strongest teams, I think. Honestly, yeah, I'm going to stick to my original gun. Yeah. They're one of the strongest teams in the league right now.
Because that 2 receptions, that 2 targets is an outlier.
That was one rough game, but that wasn't a normal.
It's an outlier.
It's an outlier. Like you said, yeah, it's an outlier. It's not. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yeah, I think he's a start. Yeah.
Drake London of the Atlanta Falcons.
Yes, Drake London. The Falcons are airing the ball out lately. They're going against the Dallas Cowboys, so I guess you could take that and make an answer from it. But I'm gonna say because of that, I'm not even trying to be funny. Because of that, it's a start for me.
Oh, it's a start.
It's a start for me.
You got Kirk Cousins as the quarterback.
Yeah, Kirk's been stepping into his bag. Dallas is gonna be a team that lets you throw it around more.
Last week, his receptions and everything from last week, another one outlier.
Yeah.
Because prior to last week, he was killing it every week. So.
Malik NABERS.
He steps into a start for me because same thing.
Yeah.
He's all they have.
I know. and that's another thing too. They're going against a Washington defense. Washington is going to run this game. They're going to be in the lead. They're going to be playing from behind, and because of the game script, Malik NABERS is going to benefit just because of if you're in a PPR, Malik NABERS is a start. If you're not in a PPR, sit that man. Do not play that game. Sit that man. But in a PPR, he's going to get the ball tossed to him so much because they're going to be playing from behind. It's going to be a game script game. This is a start game for Malik NABERS. I think this is going to be a back, especially since Washington and New York have that weird little rivalry thing. Sometimes New York does step up in these weird-ass games where they want to play like they're actually good.
Yeah, divisional games.
These divisional games, that's when they kind of like, they step their game up a little bit more. But, yeah, he's a start for me too, yeah. PUCA Nacua.
Start. I don't care.
Yeah, he's a start.
Questionable? No problem.
Yeah.
He's going to play.
Easy.
He's one of the main weapons.
Yeah.
He's a start.
Chris Olave going against Carolina.
Okay, he faced Carolina. He's a start. He's facing Carolina. That's because he's facing Carolina. I am going to temper expectations because, again, we don't really know what the quarterback situation is that's going on over there right now. He's had some down games because of that. But it's Carolina. I mean, it's one of the worst defenses in the league.
Start.
It's a start for me.
Yeah. Terry McLaurin, Washington wide receiver, going against the New York Giants.
Start. him and Jaden.
He's a must start.
They got some sort of wild chemistry going on, and it's like that's another one. It's just like this. Until if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Must start.
Keep throwing it out there. Just keep throwing them out there.
Must start. Yeah.
Garrett Wilson's already had a great game, so if you already started him, good job.
Good job.
If not, and he was on your bench, you're stupid. Okay. DK Metcalf is actually scheduled to be out.
Yeah, Metcalf has just been listed as out. So if you have Metcalf, you're gonna have to find a replacement.
All right. So
Cooper Kupp, wide receiver for Los Angeles Rams, going against the Seattle Seahawks. He's a start.
Another one is a start, and he's healthy. There's no injury designation. Start.
Devontae Adams was listed as a position here. He actually overmet his expectation of 1147. He was. Oh no, I'm sorry. He overmet his expectation for this week.
Yep.
He actually got 91 yards and a touchdown, and 7 receptions. So Devontae Adams was definitely meeting his required needs for this week.
Oh yeah.
As far as where he was ranked,
especially with all them targets.
Yeah, man, we're flying though. We got Devontae Smith. Philadelphia wide receiver going against Jacksonville.
It's a start for me.
Ooh, it's a start over here.
It's a start over here for me as well.
Yeah, man, that's yeah. I really don't have anything else to say. This is just an easy start.
And T. Higgins is trending towards
Doubtful.
City.
Yeah, I would say
he's doubtful.
Yeah, if he is to start, I would still sit him this week.
I would sit him too because it's a quad injury, so that's one of those core muscles.
You don't want to take the risk.
No, you don't want to take that chance.
Yeah.
Fire up your Mike Gesicki's.
Yes. Oh man.
DJ Moore.
Yes, sir. We got DJ Moore going against Arizona. Chicago definitely hit or miss these last few weeks, but I think this might be one of their bounce back weeks. I think we could see DJ Moore putting up a few more points this week.
I believe so. I think DJ Moore's going to do well.
Yeah, I think he's a start this week. JAKOBI Myers, wide receiver for the Las Vegas Raiders, going against the Cincinnati Bengals. JAKOBI Myers has been a hit or miss, but he's also kind of been like their main receiver. So
especially
I kind of do think he's a start now. I feel like he's gonna end up being an every week start, even on the harder matchups. He's gonna be needed to bring them back in. They're gonna be falling behind game scripts against, especially the next 4 weeks that we have here against Miami, Denver, Kansas City, Tampa Bay. These are teams that you really are going to need him to catch the ball more to keep them in the game. And then after that, it's an easy slate. If you have them in the playoffs, Tampa Bay, Arizona, Jacksonville, and New Orleans. What a wonderful spread.
It is not like he's not used to being a number one receiver. He was number one for all those years in New England.
Exactly.
So he is definitely used
he
to
knows
being
what to do here.
I would start him.
Yeah, he's a start.
Zay Flowers. That's interesting.
I would bench him.
I would, because just for the simple fact that now they got Deontay Johnson as well.
I would want to see how the chemistry is before I start him.
It could really take a cut back into like what he's been getting.
Yeah.
So I would definitely I would sit him just for a week to see what happens.
Just a speculative sit. You know, the next person that we have on the list, Marvin Harrison Jr., the Arizona wide receiver. He's going against Chicago.
The talent's there.
Yeah.
It's just is Kyler willing to throw him the ball?
That's really what it comes down to. Chicago's defense isn't that bad. Also, Chicago gives up the 9th fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. And honestly, they can be beat. It's not like they're that amazing. They are beatable.
Because Marvin Harrison just hung 6 for 111 touchdown on what's considered the best defense against fantasy.
It's just this boomer.
Violence.
It's the boomer bust that kills it for me, and it's hard.
And I guess it all depends on if Kyler throws him the ball or not. Because there's games where they have 7, 6 targets, and you got 2. You figure it was set him because he already had his boom last week?
I feel like, this was his second 100-yard game last week. So, I mean, it wasn't his first, but it's basically like through his last 8 games. So, this is his stat line, right? Through his last 8 games, he's got 26 receptions, 411 yards, 5 touchdowns. I think he's getting used efficiently in this offense. I just think, like you said, it comes down to the QB. Kyler Murray isn't really that good.
He's not that accurate.
Chicago's not that amazing, so I think they're gonna meet in the middle. I think Marvin Harrison could be a starter. I'd roll the dice with him.
I'd play him.
I'd roll the dice with him.
I would play him.
Yeah, I think the upside there is just too potential to lose out on. You know. We got Tank Dell of the Houston wide receiver from the. I'm sorry. We got Tank Dell who played last night against the Jets. Again, we told you he did what he could. He was the only one alive last night.
Dalton Schultz does not exist.
Yeah. Now we got Brian Thomas Jr. Ness.
Brian Thomas Jr.
Right now, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to overspeak him, but I don't know if he's going to be healthy enough to play. There are a lot of rumors about him having some rib injury and like tissue injury, and they're saying that with that injury, it can be a little bit of soreness that comes with it, and it could take weeks to really like fully recover. But he could play through it. However, he's going to be a little hindered out there. So
he's not going to see the usual snap share that he's usually taking in.
See, but then that's where the flip side is, because Kirk Cousins is now out for the rest of the year. So not Kirk Cousins. I'm sorry, not Kirk Cousins. Not Kirk Cousins. That's the interesting, because Christian Kirk is out for the rest of the year. He's out on IR, so really they're short receivers now. They have no depth.
And also Gabe Davis is injured as well.
Gabe Davis is injured, so it's like if he's in there, he's gonna have to play because there's really not much depth at that position now. He has to.
And he's already the number one in his rookie season.
He's already the number one. But now this is where I feel like it can go bad, right? The lack of options behind him, the attention that he's gonna receive, his injury. I think this is all pointing towards him sitting, actually.
Yeah. And Philly's defense is one of those sneaky defenses
that
could take away your number one.
Brian Thomas is a sit this week.
Yeah,
it's hard to say.
It's because it's just the limited amount of opportunity because of the questionable tag for the injury that it is.
And they're gonna
highly focus on him.
They're gonna swarm him on secondary. I mean, he's got the potential to still go off even with, but I gotta say he's a sit this week. He's got too much.
I'm scared.
Yeah, it's too hot. Sit him.
Amari
Cooper, Buffalo going against Buffalo's wide receiver going against the Miami Dolphins in Buffalo. I think all right. So last week was interesting because Amari Cooper is still getting acclimated with the Buffalo Bills. I believe once he does get to that place, he's going to be their number one receiver, and it's going to make room for, of course, like we know Keenan Cole and Shakir to get receptions. But I don't know if this is the week for him yet. It's a rainy game in Buffalo. This could limit the potential for the ball to be thrown around. And if that is an issue, we also have so many mouths to feed. Not only is Amari going to be the number one, of course, now, but he's got a good, strong 2 and 3 behind him. And
then there's also Dalton Kincaid.
It limits the punch that he could come in with. He's not as relied upon anymore. So I would say, honestly, sit Amari Cooper until you can see where the consistency lies.
Bonafide decoy last week, maybe.
Yeah, sit Amari Cooper this week. I would say he's a sit. What do you think?
I'll agree with you because it's Miami. Miami is one of the best defenses in the league when it comes to fantasy points for the wide receiver this season. So if anybody, they're probably going to focus in on Amari a lot.
Yeah.
They're going to focus in on him, and they're going to try to make the other receivers beat them.
Yeah. The last player on this list for today is actually in the same game. His partner, Khalil Shakir. I actually think that he's a start this week.
And for that same purpose as what I had just stated is why I would say as well.
I think
Khalil Shakir is a start as well.
He's solidified himself and it showed. Even with Amari Cooper there, he's still getting the targets. His position hasn't been swayed by this. It's actually gotten boosted.
The person that has really benefited the most,
Keenan Cole.
Keon Coleman has been the one that has benefited the most from Amari Cooper being on the team now.
He has. But yeah, Khalil Shakir, he's looking like an every week start at this point. I think he's someone I'm safe and firing up.
Oh yeah,
he's his favorite target out there. So, listen, I hope that you guys got something out of this list. This is our top 25 ranked wide receivers risk assessment. This is the start or sit from Through the Wire podcast. I'm your host, Alan A.B.
I'm Ness.
And it's been a pleasure bringing these names to you today. I hope that you got something out of it. And if you did, let us know in the comments. Were these accurate? Did our predictions weather well? I know last week's didn't. Jordan Mason didn't do anything for me. I'm not going to hold it over his head.
But you went against your own statements, though. You said that you were going to sit him. This
man is the worst. Don't ever take advice from this man. If you see him giving you football advice, run.
I'll just keep winning. It's okay.
He's only winning because I took his advice. Take his advice, you're going to lose
not just
too.
This league. 3.
We'll see you in the end of the season.
We'll see.
Thank you, y'all.
Take it to the finals, it's a win.